Starting in 3, 2, 1. What is up, YouTube? Keep back with you. And welcome back to the channel. So, I said in the last recording that I would maybe talk about this a little, so I guess it's a little bit of story time. Maybe I'll find something else to talk about as well, but specifically I said in the last recording I was going to talk about my accident, which I haven't really talked about too much. So buckle up, everybody. It's story time. This is not as long of a story as people would think it is. But the long and short of it is, I was just driving, my normal kind of route. It was a different time of day than I was used to going through the area. And so I was headed west. Yeah, I was headed west. Just, bringing my load home, and it's so stupid because it happened on like a straight bit of road, and a lot of that road is windy, but it happened on a straight bit of road. I don't know why. I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is I checked my mirror and my tire started trying to go in the ditch. So I tried to pull to the left and overcorrect. And apparently, because of the corroded shoulder or something, the physics of the truck decided it did not like that. So going 50 miles an hour, I tipped onto my passenger side and slid down the road a little ways. Luckily, no one else was hurt. I was the only one hurt in the accident. The load was lost. The trailer was really screwed up. The back door frame ripped like a can of tuna, but like downward, like it would be toward the tires. So yeah, that was kind of a mess. And unfortunately, the way I landed diagonally across the road, so I was blocking traffic for several hours. But yeah, so I hit the ground, I slid. My backpack, which had been in the middle next to me, was where my phone and my iPad were, because they had plugged in, and they went soaring out the window as the truck turned on its side. Luckily, both my phone and my iPad survived. My iPad actually survived without a scratch on the pad itself. The case was a little scuffed up, but I was surprised in how good of condition it really was. I ended up having to climb up the wind shield. There was actually a couple of ladies there who were very nice and were capable of helping me get out. And as I've said before, I was in shock at the time. Like, my biggest concern was making sure that nobody else was hurt. If those ladies do hear this, I want to thank them. I don't know their names. They helped me get out. They brought my speaker back to me, which had been sitting up on the dashboard at the time. And since then, I just don't bring that with me anymore. But when the truck hit the ground, the windshield popped off, and my speaker went rolling out the window. But yeah, so it was a messy and very uncomfortable affair. I was hanging in the air from the seat and kind of monkey man my way down to help me get unbuckled and stuff so that I could monkey my way down. And I came about 10 feet short of sliding the truck into a tree. And and if I had to get out the door for some reason, it was the nose of the truck. I actually had to navigate around the truck, which was not easy because there's ditches on both sides, and the nose of the truck was over a culvert that was a steep culvert leading down to the water's edge. I crashed right into a very large lake. So I'm glad I didn't go over the edge and end up down in the lake. But I came very close to sliding the truck into a tree, which I could have died from. You know, even thinking about it now, I could have easily broken my neck. I'm glad I didn't, obviously, but just from that impact, you know, it could have hurt me a lot worse than it did. As it turned out, you know, I got off fairly in good condition considering what happened. I, you know, had to wait several hours. People came over and took a look at me and talked to me, and the longer that it took, the more rattled I started getting. At the time, I just thought I'd be done. I thought they would fire me. They didn't, and I'm very appreciative of that. But you know, I was stewing on that in my head, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And it took several hours for someone to come and get me and take me back. And ultimately, whether it was something that actually was my fault or whether it was something just outside of my control that I happened to have the bad fortune of, you know, just the way that the dice rolled, it was something that ended up I had to take responsibility for, and I accepted that. But you know, at the time, I was even asked, "Do you feel traumatized?" And I was like, "You know what? I don't know." Things didn't get easier later. For those of you who have PTSD, you can probably understand this a little bit, but for those of you who don't have it, when something like that happens, it truly traumatizes you. Things that are similar to it in sensation, emotion, sights, smells, all sorts of stuff can set you off. I turn over a lot in my sleep. As Maddie likes to say, I'm a bit of a rotisserie chicken from time to time. So whenever I would turn over in a particular way, with particular velocity, trying to get some sleep in the month I had off afterward, and this, you know, lasted long into after I returned to work, I would immediately find myself back in the accident. And I, you know, toss and turn a lot in my sleep, so I probably only got a couple hours every night of sleep, and even then only from sheer exhaustion. And I would say, because that accident happened the last couple of days of July, so I would say probably until November, I was probably running on less than 10 hours of sleep a week. And it was hard. It was hard, you know. I'd always be tired. I'd always be physically and mentally just drained. And my anxiety set in, and my panic attacks set in. You know, the first time I drove over the spot, I had a panic attack. And I had to death grip the steering wheel for dear life and try to manage with it. I'm very thankful that my brain is just wired for high functioning when it comes to anxiety. But even still, it was one of the hardest things I've had to do. And for a long time, I would get anxiety attacks. Maybe not full-on panic attacks, but anxiety attacks every time I got near the spot. It sucked. It really sucked. And I had to be a month off of work, um, not knowing whether or not I was going to go back, not knowing whether or not I wanted to go back. Um, I ended up getting ticketed for what happened, so it's like then I had to worry about that. With no, well, I can't say with no money coming in because I got hurt at work, so that I was on workman's compensation for a little bit. But I hadn't been around very long at that point, so when that happened, I wasn't um, in a position where what I was making was very much. Because I can't say too much because I'm obligated not to say too much, but they kind of split the difference with the different ways we're paid. And because of that, the average daily pay that I was getting, which was part of that calculation, was low because I'd only done about 2 months worth of work because we came in April and then smack bang in the middle of May, they let us take off for a cruise that we had planned before we ever switched jobs. And so it was a very big inconvenience when it came to the daily pay calculation because mine wasn't as high as everybody else's was because I hadn't been there doing stuff long enough. And whereas my aunt had savings she could draw on from that, if she had been in that situation, I didn't really. I've been in a shitty financial situation for the past several years. So with no saving and no side hustle to really be able to do at the time, I was just kind of up shit creek. And I definitely didn't have a battle. So it was frustrating and it was difficult, and going back to work was definitely hard. I've always had issues ever since my time home got to be more frequent, and I've never been a big fan of doing this job. Um, it was even hard to go back to work when I knew I was going to have to go back to work after I hurt my back. The weeks leading up to what I knew was going to be the final doctor's appointment and that they were going to sign off on me going back to work, I had so much. I was stressing. I don't want to say I had anxiety about it. I did a little bit, but I was just I finally got a taste of what my life could have been, and I don't want to give it up. And I have to because I have to go back to work. I can't survive like this. That was difficult recently as well. But I'll tell another story that links to the accident. Though it was a winter night, and it was I think the first time I had to chain up since the accident. So I was on the same road. For those of you who live in Washington and know the area, the road in question was US 12. It goes over White's Pass in Washington, cutting across the Cascades from the Yakima area to into Lewis County. Actually, down by where we lived when I was born, down in Toledo. And I was just going over it, and I'd been talking with my aunt earlier, and she was like, those marks are probably gone right now. The snowplows are probably took them away. And she was wrong, and I noticed that because I saw the marks, and I had a panic attack. Um, and I, just took a moment to like do a kind of breath. Like an idiot, I closed my eyes for half a second, and I opened my eyes, and I'm way too close to my line, and I was like, oh gosh, not again. So it set me off again. I'm trying to do my high functioning anxiety thing, hyperventilating, trying to find somewhere to pull off, and then this gigantic snowball um, falls off of a tree because it's snowy up there and splatters across the windshield. I screamed. It scared the ever living shit out of me. So I finally found a place to pull off, and finally hyperventilated and freaked out for like 10 minutes. And then I had to get going again. So I got myself going again, and then they made us chain up. So I chained up, and I had another panic attack coming down the hill on the other side because I fishtailed. Had a one bit in particular um, where the speed limit is very low, and I had chains on and I fishtailed. I was like, ah! So it was a very rough night. I got down to Packwood, and I was just like, okay, taking the chains off, and everything should be good from here. It pissed rain the rest of the way home, but everything was good from there. But there's been a few days like that where it was hard to get back in the truck. It was very hard to get back in the truck at the beginning, right after the accident. Like, it was difficult. Yeah, so that's kind of the story of the accident. Drive careful, guys. Please drive careful, because even when you're doing everything right, something like that can still go wrong, and you don't want to be in that position and not get lucky like I did. Life can feel so short, even when for a lot of people it's a lot longer than you give it credit for. I will say I definitely learned to cherish some things a lot more. Which is kind of ironic coming from me, because I have a history of things like, my mom was terminally ill all my life, so I spent my life trying to prepare myself for the eventuality that any day she could get taken, and she lived far longer than anybody expected her to, with all the problems she had. And what ended up killing her wasn't anything that was really wrong with her. Her heart gave out. She had cholesterol issues, but it wasn't like she had a heart attack. It was just something in her just gave up. I guess I can't say that she didn't have a heart attack. She was having a minor heart attack when she went into the hospital, and she was in the hospital for a couple of weeks before she died. But she was on the road to recovery when her heart just decided, you know what, throw it in the towel. And so I'm not a stranger to death and near death. I've been clinically dead twice myself, and you would think that coming into a situation like that again, I would already have had that cherish the moment type feeling, or been able to cope with it. But every situation like that is different. And in my defense, as far as I guess it does kind of have a story now, but maybe I'll save that for a different video. But to put the long and short of it to rest is that I was born dead, and when I was still a small baby, I had to get resuscitated because I was born with infant asthma, and they used albuterol on me, which they found out then I was definitely allergic to, and gave me a heart attack, and they had to resuscitate me. But yeah, so yeah, cherish those moments, guys. Cherish your memories. I wish that I had gotten more on the ball with something I've just started doing, which is I have a ton of throwaway cameras that never got developed in storage. So I'm going through my storage and I'm developing them. And I know, like the one that I'm going to pick up this week when I get home, I know that it's, out of 27 pictures, I'm probably going to get 7 or 8 back, and 5 of them only because they were taken recently to finish up the film. Which means whatever picture was taken before they were is probably gone to shit because of the film not all getting used up. I wish I'd gotten on the ball sooner doing that stuff, because like I was saying, the camera that I just did, and it's hard to find people who will develop them now. You know, luckily Walmart does it. Since I work with Walmart, I get a discount on it, but I have to have them mail it off. They said they got them who knows where, at a Fujifilm place somewhere, and Fujifilm sends it back. But you know, I have so many memories that I'll never have tangibility for it. And you know, I've been digitizing. I have the means now of digitizing my VHS collection, and I've been digitizing all the home videos I can find. My mom left me a big tub of videotapes before she died, and at the time I didn't have the means to do anything with it. And now I'm like, okay, I want to get through there. I want to see what I can find. And, you know, somewhere, hopefully among my stuff is still a bunch of micro cassettes that never got converted that I may actually be able to find the converter tape for and digitize them. And that will be amazing if they still exist after, you know, almost 30 years. Don't knock on holding on to the things you care about. It's okay to cherish something that doesn't mean anything to anyone else. You know, you are allowed to care about, to obsess over, to love whatever you want to. You know, Maddie has this thing with a snow globe collection that she once had, and we don't know how much, if any of it, survived. There was a bunch of stuff that happened with that whole situation. Maybe I'll tell that story in part. I'm not going to tell it in whole because there's some stuff that I don't want to talk about because of family drama stuff, and nobody needs to know that. But like, to everybody else, it's small, but I understand it with her. Like, I would care too. Because she collects snow globes when she travels places. It's her thing. And she started doing like keychains and stuff because they're less breakable. But her thing for a long time is collecting snow globes. So anyway, I probably rambled on more than long enough. I hope you guys enjoy my stuff. If you do, please make sure to slap that like button. It lets me know that you did. Don't forget to support the channel and everything I do over on Patreon, patreon.com/XenTime. Don't forget, if we can hit 10 patrons, I'll do some sort of super special stream. And maybe start making that a recurring thing. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, I'll do something if we can hit 10 patrons. But my goal is hopefully to hit at least 100 at some point. Because if we can hit 100 patrons between $1 and $5, I think I put under $1 tier. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get some content going up there actively as well. But hopefully, by the time we can reach 100 patrons, the server will be paid for all by itself, and I might actually be able to upgrade it again. But I want to start working towards making a public Keepscrap server as well as a private one. I'm also trying to upgrade my hardware and stuff, and I've set the bar pretty low on like the Streamlabs donation goal. But if you guys feel like supporting the channel, you can also donate at Streamlabs at streamlabs.com/BZNOYT. Because I'm gonna have to replace my computer soon, and that's gonna cost me a couple $1,000. So any and all help can be appreciated. uh, but outside of the hardware stuff or whatever, um, the main function I want to have for this to begin with is simply just to um, pay the server bill, which, to be fair, is not that bad. But yeah, I will catch you guys later. Don't let's go show out. That's what I'm saying. Peace.